Welcome to the deep dive. You sent us a fascinating YouTube transcript from Pages and Beyong, and today we're going to unpack how artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT, can be woven directly into Java programming.
Yeah, it's an interesting premise, not just using ChatGPT externally, but actually embedding it.
Exactly. Think of this as your shortcut, to understanding how this internal application of AI could really streamline development and maybe open up some surprising possibilities.
And we know listeners want to get the core knowledge quickly without feeling overwhelmed.
Right. So we've structured this to start with the basics of this internal AI idea, then look at some practical ways ChatGPT and Java can work together.
And then maybe touch on the bigger picture implications at the end.
Perfect. Ready to explore.
Absolutely. So this concept of internal application really stands out in the transcript, doesn't it?
It does. How does the author define it differently from, say, just using the ChatGPT website?
Well, they draw a clear line. Most of us, we interact via a website or an app that's external.
Yep.
They also mention these broader tool sets, K-tools. But what we're focusing on here, based on the transcript, is accessing and using the AI model's power within your own Java code directly.
Okay, let's break that down. So instead of me hopping over to a web page to ask ChatGPT about my Java code,
Right.
this lets the AI capability live inside my application. How?
Yeah.
How does that work? Technically.
The transcript points to two main things you need. First, obviously, you need access, a connection to the AI models themselves. And second, you need the ability to configure them, to fine-tune how they behave using specific settings or parameters.
Okay.
And the author highlights the OpenAI developer platform here. That's where you set up an account and, crucially, access what they call the playground.
The playground sounds like a sandbox, a place to experiment.
Exactly that. And this leads straight into the second key thing, those parameters. The author really emphasizes this.
Right.
It's not just about crafting the perfect prompt, prompt engineering.
Yeah.
That's important. But for this internal use, you really need to get the hang of these specific configurable parameters to get effective results.
Okay, so it's more involved than just asking a good question. What sort of parameters are we talking about? The transcript mentions 8 key ones.
Yes, let's run through those. The first one is system. Think of this as setting the AI's role, its persona for the task at hand.
Its role.
Yeah, the author makes a great point about the AI having, amnesia. It doesn't automatically remember context like we do. So the system parameter is where you tell it, okay, for this job, you are a Java developer, for example. Sets the stage.
That makes a lot of sense. You need to give it that context so its answers are actually relevant. What's next?
Second is user. This is pretty straightforward. It's the input from the human, the query. The transcript notes this is often a mix, like a text command plus the actual technical stuff it needs to work on.
Okay.
So the example given is, make a Java code file from the command URL below and name it X. And then right after that, you provide the actual URL.
So the instruction and the data packaged together. Got it. What about token ansal? It sounds like quantity.
Exactly. Token ansal, token count. It basically sets a limit on how long the AI's response can be.
Practical.
Very practical. Keeps costs down, ensures the output is manageable for your application. You don't want it spitting out an essay when you need a single line of code.
Right. You don't want War and Peace for a simple code suggestion. Makes sense. Then there's temperature. Temperature. That sounds intriguing, like it affects the output style.
That's a good way to put it. Temperature controls the randomness or maybe creativity of the response.
Randomness.
Yeah, a higher temperature allows for more, let's say, unexpected or imaginative output, but potentially less focused too.
Okay.
A lower temperature gives you more predictable, precise, maybe even dry responses, as the author puts it.
Dry. Interesting term.
And they also mention in the playground interface, you can even pick predefined AI roles like a 15th century peasant or a chef.
Wait, a 15th century peasant for Java help?
Well, maybe not for Java help, but it illustrates the point about how parameters influence the style. Imagine the temperature setting for that peasant role.
Okay, I can see how that control is powerful.
Yeah.
Funny example, though. All right, so the transcript moves into practical examples. First up, list models Java. What's the goal there?
The objective for list models Java is pretty specific. It's about using code to ask OpenAI systems for a current list of all the AI models they offer.
So programmatically checking what's available.
Exactly. And the transcript highlights a consistent workflow here, which is useful. Define HTTP parameters for the request.
The communication details.
Right, often packaged in something like JSON. Then send the command to the AI, like retrieve list of models. This generates a Java file.
Yeah.
Run that file, and you get the response back from the AI. So your Java app is making a direct query.
Okay, like a little Java utility to keep tabs on available AI models. Handy. What about the next one? ChatGPT client Java. How's that different?
ChatGPT client Java shifts gears. It's less about asking about the AI and more about using the AI's intelligence, applying those parameters we just talked about.
Interacting with it.
Yes. The process involves feeding the AI actual technical data, maybe some Java code you're working on, along with your carefully set parameters. Execute that Java code, it sends the request off, and you get the AI's process response back.
Okay, so list models is info gathering. ChatGPT client is actual task execution using the AI.
Got it.
Then we get to the SL bot for summarizing Slack messages.
Precisely. The author uses this to show a practical tool built with this internal AI approach. The use case is a bot that summarizes conversations in a Slack workspace.
Like summarizing lengthy email threads, but for Slack?
Kind of, yeah. They use an example of summarizing fictional company communications, and crucially, they point out how tweaking parameters, especially temperature, affects the summary.
Right, so you could get a really concise summary or something more detailed depending on the settings?
Exactly that. Lower temperature for a dry, factual summary, higher for something maybe more interpretive.
Makes sense.
And the core process, defining HTTP requests, sending commands, that stays the same. But there's an interesting evolution mentioned here. The author apparently takes the code from the ChatGPT client Java example and refactors it, makes it more modular.
How so?
The inner classes chat and message are turned into their own standalone Java files, chat.java and message.java.
Better software design. More reusable.
Exactly. It suggests that as these AI apps get more complex, good structure becomes important.
Naturally. The transcript also mentioned showing different prompts and temperatures for this bot.
Yeah, demonstrating that link between parameter settings and the kind of output you get. And importantly, it mentions developer APIs.
Right, APIs, the digital doorways.
Perfect analogy. Platforms like Slack provide these APIs, like api.slack.com, so your Java code can talk to their systems securely. This lets you build custom channels, workspaces, and, well, your Java chatbot. You might set up basics via their interface, then use Java for the smarts.
That sounds incredibly useful for teams. An AI assistant right in your chat. Okay, next up, multimodal AI. This sounds complex.
It's definitely pushing the boundaries. Multimodal means handling different types of data, not just text, but video, audio, images.
Wow.
The example given is creating an image from a podcast episode. It's a chain reaction using different OpenAI tools.
How does that work?
First, they use Whisper AI to transcribe the podcast audio into text.
Okay, speech to text.
Then ChatGPT takes that text transcript and creates a text description of what the podcast content might look like visually.
So translating ideas into a visual description.
Exactly. And finally, another model, DLAIA, takes that text description and generates the actual image.
That's quite a process. Audio to text, text to visual concept, concept to image, all automated.
Pretty amazing, right? And the transcript stresses that even for this more complex, multi-step process, the underlying workflow, HTTP requests, commands, Java files handling the data remains consistent.
The same core pattern applies.
Right. You define parameters, send commands to the right AI model, Whisper, ChatGPT, DALL-E, and process the output using Java. They mentioned generating an image related to This American Life as an example.
A powerful demonstration of combining different AI capabilities. Okay, last practical example. An advanced bot for Discord communication management. What's the advanced part?
This seems to build on the SL bot idea, but aims for more intelligence and versatility, specifically for Discord. Like Slack, Discord has a developer platform for creating servers, bots, integrating code. The advanced part seems to focus on two key functions: Froggen and Onfort Q&A and moderation.
So not just summarizing, but actually answering questions and maybe helping manage the chat.
That's the implication, moving beyond passive processing to active participation and maybe even administrative help within a Discord community.
That's a significant step up.
It is. And the transcript notes this requires significant modifications to the earlier Java code. The author apparently explains these changes in detail and even gives homework, suggesting it's a more involved build.
Sounds like they're really trying to equip the reader to build these things.
Yeah.
Okay, so stepping back, the transcript wraps up with the author's broader perspective. What's their take?
They seem very optimistic. They strongly believe businesses have tons of untapped data and information just lying around.
Right.
And that presents huge opportunities for applying AI internally to make things more efficient, tackle time-consuming tasks, basically unlock potential.
A positive view on productivity. What about jobs? That's always the big question with AI.
The author's take, according to the transcript, is that AI will mostly enhance how we work, not eliminate jobs wholesale.
Augmentation rather than replacement.
That seems to be the view. Improving methods, maybe automating some tasks, but also creating new possibilities.
Interesting. And they have a pretty strong closing statement about work itself, right?
Right. They do. Quite provocative. They argue that objectively there's more than enough work needing to be done. Way more work than people, actually.
So, unemployment.
Isn't an inevitable outcome of tech like AI in their view? It's more about the societal and economic choices we make regarding how we structure things and distribute work.
That really shifts the focus, doesn't it? From just the tech to how we choose to use it as a society. Okay, so bringing our own deep dive towards a close, we've seen how ChatGPT can be embedded in Java for a whole range of things, from simple info lookups to complex bots and even multimodal creativity.
And the key seems to be getting comfortable with those parameters, really fine-tuning the AI's behavior for your specific needs.
Absolutely. And the author's optimism about internal AI enhancing workflows without necessarily costing jobs is, well, it's a hopeful perspective.
It is. It emphasizes the control and customization you get by embedding AI directly, which you just don't have with off-the-shelf interfaces. It really highlights the potential hidden in an organization's own data and processes.
It definitely makes you think. Considering that perspective on work and technology, what are the implications for automation in your own field or areas you follow? And maybe more specifically today, what kinds of internal AI solutions could be relevant to the sources you might be exploring? Something to ponder.
A good question to leave folks with.
Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.